Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 29th meeting of the Litchfield Capital Improvement Committee. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I guess we'll do a roll call. I guess we can start, Christina, if you want to go. Start.
Yep, Christina Harrison, School Board Representative.
Pete Stone, Citizen Rep.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectmen's Rep.
Michael Croto, Planning Board.
Marion Colby, Citizens Rep.
Kim Kleiner, Town Administrator.
Carrie Douglas, Budget Committee.
Good evening. So Jamin Carr is not with us this evening. The first item on the agenda is item B, is public input. Is there any public input this evening before we get started? Yes.
If I may, I just wanted to be here tonight. So Doug Totten, the business administrator, who's a non-voting member, was not able to attend tonight. So he asked me to come along. I know he shared with the CIP committee last night the spreadsheet that we got from the state of New Hampshire. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to make sure you understood the backstory of how that sheet got developed, and then answer any questions that you might have on it. Because I think it actually illustrates and points out the urgency of the work at Griffin Memorial School. So we applied for state building aid back in June, and you can see by this chart that there are actually 17 school projects that were that applied for state building aid. So the process is that once all those applications go in, a team of 3 people from the New Hampshire Department of Ed go out and visit each site. And they spent about a half a day with us. This was back at the end of August. And they spent a half a day with us going through our application, having us explain what the needs were, what we had identified, and then walking the building and walking the site. So we were able to point out actual physical limitations that existed at the Griffin site to this committee. So 3 people from the department walk all 17 schools. They have rubrics that are developed by the building authority, and they rate each building project based upon those rubrics. So what you see here is the final rank ordering, and Litchfield placed number 5 on the list. And so highlighted in green are the 4 schools who are ahead of us. And the number 1 neediest project is Rochester Elementary School. Number 2 is the Colebrook Academy, which is a consolidation of a high school and elementary school into one site up in Colebrook. Number 3 is the Monadnock Regional Elementary Schools, and that again is a consolidation project of various schools. Number 4 is the Runlet Middle School in Concord, and then number 5 is Litchfield. So, and I would also point out to you that the gap between number 5, we scored 642 points, and then immediately behind us is the Hampstead School at 452. So there's actually a 200-point gap between number 5 and number 6. So it's pretty clear when you separate those off that there are 5 schools that are quite needy. The other thing I think it's important the community understand is that this is really a comparison of apples to apples. What are the needs that are out there? So when I've had people say, you know, it feels like some of these things are wants and not needs, here's an independent group who visited all schools that applied and ranked us that high in the list. And I think that's important that they had rubrics that they were based on, and you can see what the scoring categories were. Unsafe conditions, you know, are there inefficient or unsuitable conditions, et cetera. So you can see how it was scored against the rubrics that they use. The other thing that the CIP should understand is that if you remove one category sort of worked against us, and that category is the number of free and reduced students that exist in each town, right? So Rochester, for example, got 200 points based solely on the poverty level that exists in the city of Rochester. We got 0 points because our town does not have a high free and reduced population. So if you look at column 2 here and you deduct out the poverty level points that were awarded, then you find that we are ranked number 2, slightly behind Colebrook Academy. So Colebrook received 672 points when you deduct out their 100 points based on the poverty level, and Litchfield received 642 points. So really, based on building and programmatic needs, we're number 2 in the state in terms of the need. And I think that's really, really important that the town understand that. There's nothing we can do about the property wealth in Litchfield. That's the nature of where we reside and the nature of how the town is. And that's why we're number 5 on the list, because we are not getting points in those categories. But in terms of does the project need to go forward? Are there identified deficiencies? This ranking says absolutely. Number 2 in the state of New Hampshire on the needs-based list. So I just think that was important that everybody understand that analysis and understand where we are and understand why the school board ranked this as their number 1 priority coming into the CIP. And I'd love to answer any questions if you have any on the scores or the rankings.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Jetty?
Under unsafe conditions, other, what is other? What does that entail? Because the structural condition says that it's a 0, but then it says unsafe conditions, other. So do you know what that entails?
I'd have to go back, that's a great question. I'd have to go back and look at the rubric and see what was counted in that category. I'm not certain of it, but I'll see if I can get an answer.
And then when it says unsafe environmental conditions, is that the water table problems, or?
It's probably in part the water table. It's also, well, like traffic is there. So I'm not sure where, like the proximity to 3A, for example, that probably is scored under traffic.
Yeah, they have traffic.
But traffic also could be how tight the parking lot is and cars coming and going from the lot itself. I mean, we have buses stacking up on the playground after school to load. And so I'm not sure where they fall in those 2 categories, Marion, so it's difficult to say exactly where those
Well,
points
they
are.
had traffic conditions as a separate category, but what is, also, what is, let me just, inefficient or unsuitable conditions building envelope, what does that mean?
So the building envelope, they're talking about the integrity of the walls and the insulation values that exist in
I
the
see,
walls.
okay.
So, for example, between the 1930s building and the 1950s addition, it's single-width concrete
Right,
block.
I
So there's
understand.
no insulation there at all. So that would be where those points were scored.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, do you know what MEP is in column K?
Yep, it's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So when you look at the infrastructure within the building, we scored, 20 out of 20 points as a deficiency. So the mechanicals, as you know,
Yeah.
and the electrical is pretty old in the older parts of the building.
What does security updates mean?
So security updates has the community invested in upgrades to the building for security protection? So where's that category fall?
Next to
Column I?
traffic, yeah, number 8.
And so you see, we got 67 points because we did the update to the secure entrance. So when you come to Griffin now, you're able to go into that secure area. So we didn't receive the maximum points because we had done that project. But 67 is still speaking to, the sheer number of doors that are around that building and the ability for somebody to walk up to one of those doors.
Break it in. Okay, thank you.
Anybody have anything else?
Thank you for letting me share that with you, because this is relatively hot off the press, and I thought it was helpful if everybody
So
understood.
how much money is in the pool that's being divvied up? So we're number 5 how much money do number 1, 2, 3, and 4 have a crack at before we get a chance?
So that's to be determined by the legislature that just got elected. If you go on historical facts, there's been $50 million available.
Right.
And then it depends, it's really kind of a game, because if school number 1, 2, and 3 do not successfully pass a bond project, then they don't take any money, and money's available to school number 4, 5, and 6. So it's really a question, but if the legislature fully funds it, and if they designate funds into year 1 and year 2 as they traditionally have, and if the other communities all get their building projects approved, then there would not be money available to Litchfield in this biennium. But that's a series of ifs.
Well, I've been consistent that We should err to the side of those ifs and be pleasantly surprised if our tax burden is reduced. But we can't plan on those, so we should plan on being prepared to fully fund a project. So we have to come at with the full amount.
That's what we've been planning the whole
Yeah.
time.
I'm just,
And we should also be optimistic and work hard to try to earn it, as we were with this building aid application.
I appreciate you submitting it, but if I were a betting person,
But Carrie, can you just acknowledge for a second, it wasn't let's just submit it and see what happens. A lot of work and effort went into submitting a high-quality application that placed us very well. And I think the acknowledgement of that, again, we can't do anything about the property wealth in town. We can't do anything about where the other communities are and whether they do or do not pass. But we are working hard to get building aid if it's
and I
available
appreciate
to
that.
us.
Absolutely. I think that's,
And any pressure on our legislators to, pay attention to where we are, what our need is, and what can we do to influence the amount of money that's there and the way it gets divvied up, that opportunity still exists.
yeah.
How often is this, money available? Is it every year or?
So this is a biennium budget, so it would be a 2-year budget, and the other piece is that you don't come off the list after 2 years. So, as long as the community is making solid headway, trying to fix the school, then you can remain on the list into the next biennium, and you can only get bumped off the list. So let's say the first 3 projects are the only ones that get funded, and we stay on the list going into the next biennium. The only way somebody can bump us is if a greater life safety need comes along, life safety only. So we could actually be ranked number 1 or number 2 in the biennium that follows that. So I don't like playing the long game on this because I think we need to get this school project done. But I certainly understand, and as long as we're making headway and continuing to make the case, we can stand the opportunity to get the money down the road.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
Do we know what committee this goes to?
In the legislature, so it's a separate committee called, what was school building, there's a school building authority or something that actually did all the ranking and approved this and brought it to the State Board of Ed for final ranking. But it's gonna be the way any fiscal, budget gets approved with the state, in terms of the amount of money. So if House Ed, for example, is recommending, hey, there's need out there and additional funds, that would be a plus. And then it really comes down to the final budget.
My understanding is part of it, the problem is that they bonded a whole bunch of construction projects many years ago, and until that bond's paid off, they're not willing to expand it much further than what they're currently doing. So it'll be a while before that pool gets a lot bigger, is my understanding.
You're accurate on that, but that's also been said for about a decade. And so one of
Well,
the
how
questions
long's the
would be-
bond?
So one of the questions would be if they were 20-year bonds, as you pay off the tail of those.
Yep.
That should result in more money being available.
Yeah,
And
but I don't think you're gonna see a tripling of, or doubling. I think, yes, you'll see 5 million, 10, it's not gonna be a new building. It's not gonna be another district's funding gets added to that amount. So, like I said, my opinion has always been if the community supports it, they just need to be willing to pay the full freight and understand that that's likely where it's gonna head. Yes, kudos to the district for trying to get more money from other funding sources. But the reality is, we have to be prepared to pay the full freight.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Excellent.
This is
Thank
very
you for
good
that.
information. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Okay. So that brings us to the approval of the minutes for November 7th, 2022. Anybody have an opportunity to take a look at those? And have any questions or concerns?
No.
I'll entertain a motion if there are no questions or
motion.
concerns. So we have a motion by Pete. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Marion. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the minutes from November 7th, 2022, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0.
Actually, I have to change that. I have to abstain.
Oh,
You weren't here.
I wasn't here.
oh, so, okay, 401.
I look good, but I wasn't here.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. All right,
It's all public. It should be out where you can get it.
Yeah.
I sent you guys links to all that documentation.
thank you. Discussion by members. So tonight is really what I wanted to do, that the reason I wanted to have this meeting tonight is to kind of figure out how we want to go about presenting this. Now, the last time we did this, and we went before the Board of Selectmen, if my understanding, I was present, I think Andrew Cutter was present, and Brian Bork was present. Brian presented for the school. Andrew presented basically on the town stuff. I did sort of the introduction piece of what the capital improvement committee does and how it works and all that stuff. Is that something that you want to do this time around when we do the presentation for the Board of Selectmen? For example, Christina, would you be interested in doing the part for the school? If we were to go before the Board of Selectmen,
Sure,
and
I could do
then
that.
someone else can do the town, or repeat if you want to do the town, or I can do the introduction.
I'm fine with that. I
However you
mean-
guys want to do it.
I mean, I'll just say this, I don't think it's gonna be super complicated. I mean, we're only doing 23.
Right.
Right, and then we've kind of deferred picking up 24 on next spring. Just due to timing and everything else, so.
So however everybody's comfortable wanting to do it. So the public hearing on this is going to be at the planning board meeting on December 6th. We will be presenting to the Board of Selectmen on December 12th. So this presentation will be part of the planning board meeting at the next.
You said 12th is?
12th is going to be the Board of Selectmen.
So Monday, the 5th is, we have a meeting on the 5th as well?
No meeting on the 5th.
Oh, okay. We get rid of that.
So, in terms of how you want to put it together, I guess this is sort of going to be a bit of a, maybe a little bit of a workshop, maybe. I mean, do we want to start off, by presenting with, I guess, how do we want to start it off? Do we want to start off with the history and then go again into, what was proposed in 2020 briefly, and then go into what we've done now? We can do it that way. I'm getting ideas from people.
No, I mean, I like that. I think we should, it
This
should
is,
be a build off of the
formal.
previous one, right?
Yeah,
And then I
So-
think the other thing is we should kind of summarize
Highlight any
the scope
changes.
of what,
right.
where we're heading, and then what the differences from the last one were, what's dropped off.
Okay.
And where the arbor goes. That's new.
Right, so we'll
Oh,
have,
yeah, that's a good
we're gonna
point.
have probably a piece on that.
Kim, what did you,
ARPA.
Where the
ARPA
arbor
fund.
Oh,
fund, 'cause
okay, I
that's
couldn't
different
hear
than the
you, sorry.
history.
Okay. All right. So what I think what we'll do is, I'm gonna reach out to Jay. I'll probably have him help me to put together.
Do you have a copy of the last deck? that you
I
used?
do,
I mean, I think it's probably got a
mimic. that
different, I
one,
mean,
right?
I think we should mimic it, but this is gonna have a different connotation, right? 'Cause
Right,
that was
exactly.
that was more of the getting back going again. I think the first few slides of that were
Yeah.
reestablishing
Right.
the committee.
So, I mean, from the last time, we, obviously, when we presented it, it was basically, who the committee members were. We did a vision statement, when we came together last time. So we talked about that. Obviously, we're gonna have to change it so that, we're looking out to the next 6 years. This was through the year 2026, so we may have to move that.
Yep.
considered, so, I mean, basically, we talked about the aspects of what our town's future considered by the CIP. That would include the heritage preservation, community character, land use and growth management, preservation of natural resources, economic development, community services and facilities, infrastructure needs, replacement and continuing maintenance of town assets. We could probably put, you know, I don't know if we want to add to that, or,
The library, did you know? We didn't really mention that group.
Well,
Unless you do
it's-
that later.
yeah, I mean, if they're, I mean, I don't think they really, I mean, I don't think
Didn't really
this time
contribute a
around.
lot this time.
Yeah,
Okay, just trying to, just
I mean, I
include
think they're
everybody.
included
certainly
in-
offered.
Just don't wanna leave one
come in.
department out, you know?
No,
I mean,
but I think,
I don't
yeah.
think that message was like department specific, right? I think it was kind of just
Well, you mentioned
general
different commissions,
encapsulation
so.
of the town and its needs.
I'm just throwing it out there. I just don't want a commission or a group left out. Okay?
I think, yeah, give them an opportunity, I mean, maybe.
yeah,
If I'm reading it, if I'm looking through it, I'd be like, oh, library. They say they have needs, I'm not sure what they are. So give them a chance to, give them, to fill in the gaps, you know what I mean? So,
No, I mean,
it's
and
there,
that's
if
fair. I
you
mean,
approach it from like a PR perspective, here's your opportunity to sell it to the community.
I agree. I mean, you know, I
It's
think-
easier to vote no when I don't know what I'm talking,
I'm
when
just saying,
they're asking for.
lessons learned from this round, you know, timing, better encouragement of the department heads to come plead their case, so that those narratives can be included.
agree.
Right? Being more, we'll just say more diligent about deadlines. Hey, if you don't come, we blank your row out, right?
So that
Yeah.
okay, so that wasn't an introduction statement. That was,
No, I went a different direction.
He's thinking ahead.
I know,
This year
I
was a little
understand,
odd,
but-
there was a,
I'm
there was,
just, I'm thinking back,
thinking.
I'm thinking back to where
Lessons
we
learned.
could have been better about capturing some of these
I agree to
these
that.
things, right?
so I guess we can identify the vision statement, then, the next thing we did was we presented, you know, this is the CIP statutory authority under RSA 6, 7, 4, 5, and 6. The last time we talked about the warrant article that went in for CIP, how that came about, talked a little bit about what the direction is of the capital improvement committee, creating and developing a master plan for projects, et cetera, for both the town and the school. And, you know, looking at the anticipated expenses from various departments, you know, things over 50,000. And that it's really, this is a planning document, this is, you know, to provide boards, the budget committee and the voters, you know, an opportunity to look at this and, but really the Board of Selectmen to make decisions on recommending these things and then having, you know, whether it's voted on at town meeting or so forth, and looking at the needs of the town. We did, in the last presentation we did a meeting summary, so it was like we started in 2020, it looks like we started in January, and then we went all the way to September. And we did, you know, we basically laid out each meeting what the presentations were. I don't know if we want to do it this time, do it that way this time, but,
I think that's something we can probably summarize. Right?
yeah, I don't think we have to go into that much detail. I mean, this was very specific in terms of the meetings and, you know, what was presented.
Yeah.
I think it also was being the first time that we had a capital improvement
Yeah,
plan.
that's-
I think
that
that
was
was key, but for,
that was a
at this
huge
point,
part
we're
of
just
it.
kind of
We're
revising
kind
it.
of, yeah, and I get that. I mean, I think now we're sort of, we know what it is. We kind of, I think that, you know, the Board of Selectmen kind of have an idea of what it is. I think it's just a matter of going through the changes. And I think we actually, I mean, we actually started with the school, looks like, on this presentation. So we did the school and school district. We talked about the needs of the school district, and then what those priorities are. And then we went right into the town stuff, police, fire, et cetera.
Yeah.
So are we framing out the next 6 years of the plan?
Correct. Well, I mean, no, no,
No, we're not.
No,
That's
with
not- that's not
emphasis
what we-
on-
That's
No, no,
not
no.
what we voted on last.
yeah, no, no,
last
no,
session.
I'm sorry. The,
That's the purpose, but that's
Right.
not what we ended up with.
right,
Okay, so focus on,
It would just be 23.
23.
And then
With
we
an
will- we will
explanation to
Yeah.
the
And,
planning
and the
board
plan to regroup.
that we're gonna
in-
regroup in the spring, right?
In April.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, and that's really, I mean, the presentation basically goes through the different, you know, the summary of the different departments and what they wanted and what they're looking for.
I still think we can speak to what the department heads' needs are and what the initial projections were, but just, you know, just not solidify it for the, you know, after 23. Just so it's all captured. I mean, I told, you know, when we talked to Jay last time, you know, 23 was good to move forward with, and then the rest of it we wanted to leave on the sheet for the projection, but that was gonna be reassessed. Right.
So I think what we can do is probably add, you know, something about the ARPA funds. So we want to do.
Well, and that was the driver too, because we needed to get those done.
Right.
Right.
So we can probably put something in there about that, you know, specifically related to that.
Yep.
And then, you know, basically, you know, maybe explain, you know, why we're focusing on 23 and, maybe, you know, like a footnote or something,
Yep.
or an addendum. Any other suggestions? I wanted to just basically get your take on it as a committee.
Well, I have a question. If
Yeah.
the ARPA funds, so the selectmen, I mean, we've suggested what will be, how it will be spent, but that's approved by the selectmen, so
Right.
that then the needs of the departments could change if some of that funding. So that's one of the reasons that we didn't go further out to the 24, et
Well,
cetera.
that was part of it, but I think, you know, I think the ARPA funds, our recommendations there,
Mm-hmm.
and the 2023 year, I think everybody was good with the last time we met.
Right,
And that alleviated and removed a few things from the plan overall on the town side, right?
yes.
And allowed some bolstering to maybe help get some support for the fire engine and some of the other, I don't remember everything on here, right?
The highway department vehicles
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah, all this, yeah, exactly. So, and I think that stuff has to be allocated, right, in the near future, and then it has to
Right.
be spent by, what, 25?
The
2025,
2024, that was spent by
something like, it was,
2026.
yeah, I think it was
2024.
allocation by next year and then paid, then used by 24, right? They actually,
Allocated by 24.
Used
And
by
then-
26.
Spent by 26.
spent by 26, okay. I couldn't remember. But yeah. Yeah, because some of those, they just clear those line items off completely.
Right.
Right, I think, I'm trying to remember what was supplementary other than the fire engine. Tasers, IT equipment purchase, those were cleared out completely. Backhoe was complete, medium duty plow,
Right.
Memorial Park irrigation was a closeout.
Well, and the
And
library.
then the library improvements were part of that too. So they're a zero line item due based on ARPA. So the only thing that had anything left over after ARPA funds was the fire engine. Everything else was cleared. So, and we touched, I think we got every department something, right?
Right.
With the exception of maybe conservation. Yep, conservation looked like the only one that we didn't allocate funds and, well, I don't remember what Jay had a statement about that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an improvement in land purchases
Right.
for conservation, weren't
Right.
capital
Yeah.
improvement. So, weren't leaving them out to be mean. There's a reason for it.
Well, I think it's certainly, I mean, we were able to, at least take that money and allocate it accordingly in terms of, how much we have, so.
Oh, 100%.
So, I think that's good. Yeah. We'll do that. Okay. So, what we'll do then, I guess, I can do the introduction for the presentation, for the Board of Selectmen. Christina, did you want to do the school?
Sure.
Are you comfortable doing that?
Yep.
Or just, touching on those priorities for 2023?
Yep.
Pete, you want to do the town? You wanna
I could do the town, I can do the town and the ARPA stuff.
Okay. And, yeah, I think, there was a lot of stuff here about the survey from last time. We don't need to go through that. That's old news. But, I think those are the main points to touch on. And I guess that would be the order. Everyone's good with it? Okay. All right, like I said, I just wanted to get your guys' input. And we're gonna do a presentation. I just want everybody on to be on the same page. It's kind of, instead of just going out there and doing it, but at least, we had a discussion about it, what we were gonna
So it
do.
makes it look like we actually thought about it ahead.
Thought about it and did something, and maybe do our due diligence in that respect, so, yeah. Okay. Kim, do you have anything else? Is there anything from the department heads, anything that came up since the last time?
No.
No?
Other than, I think that, I know highway is anxious, so,
Okay.
and very thankful. Those will take two big things.
Don't thank
right
us
now.
yet, it's still gotta go through. the select-
Well, they're thankful just to make it on the plan, and we have been looking at the fire truck, in terms of grants and in terms of the warrant. The cost of the fire truck keeps going up. I was talking to another municipality today who's in the same boat, and their cost keeps going up. The only thing is, Kim, I think you mentioned it, for general government, and nothing ever got allocated to it. I'm not sure that anything ever needed to,
Yeah, they're still
Um,
doing research on that, right?
right?
Maybe it was just a placeholder, so do you want it on the report?
No, I
Did we
think,
have placeholders on the last report of what may be coming up, not just 2023, but forward?
I think there was a way to do that, but we'd have to ask Jay.
Yeah, I would have to, I'd have to.
Cause I thought we had something that fell through last time that we at least put on the plan, even though it wasn't complete, but I don't.
It's online, right?
Which one is this, Kim?
This is your current one.
No, I know, but which
This one
specific,
here,
oh,
top
that?
of water.
I mean, well, he already put it on there.
Yeah, it's holding it, there's no dollar values with it.
That's okay.
But I don't know if you had it on anything
No,
in
I mean,
that
but that, I
situation
think
last year.
that's, yeah, so when we talked about this before, Jay said, go ahead and put it on. If we have to update the values,
Right.
then we can discuss that in next session. I mean, cause would it be, do you think it's targeted for next year, or would it be past that?
We're still researching.
No.
yeah.
So you don't know, okay, that's fine, I mean, if it comes up next year, at least it's documented.
Right.
So, just for, just the practicalities of presenting, do you need slides from me? Do you want to share the slides
That's another
from?
good question. How do you, certainly, I know Jay, I was gonna touch base with Jay to try to get put together. He's usually pretty good about doing that.
I mean, if you could send us at least a template,
Yeah,
right, and then
Yeah.
you get, we populate what.
and then if
what
we
Yeah.
know,
could
and
do
then-
that,
then we
probably
can
that would probably
review
be a
and-
lot easier.
Yeah.
And then, you can put your information in. and
Sure,
then,
yep, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and it'd be easier just for everybody. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll
I mean,
put
if he
together a
wants to fill that out, he
template.
can feel free. No, you just do edits.
And how much detail do you want on the projects?
I mean, I think, just,
It was like an overview last
just
time.
a
right?
really an overview.
Very general,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, you don't have to go into very
Because they can read the
specific-
plan,
specific
yeah,
detail.
Yeah.
okay.
It's just a basic, summary of
Okay.
what's going on. I mean, obviously, we've discussed, the last time, what are the important needs of the school and, what those needs are and
Okay.
just, focus on the specific, from the
The project.
projects.
Okay, thank you.
Are they getting something like this with the slide deck?
That will go, that will go
Okay.
with it.
That goes on, yeah, it's gonna be part of it. right.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, that whole sheet, that's why Jay prepares it, because
Right.
that's one of the inserts that goes with it.
Because that's what we did last time with the PowerPoint.
That went
We
with
had
it, good.
on there.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
All right, so I will do that.
And when do you think you'll have the presentation?
I'm gonna touch base with Jay tomorrow, and I will find out from him when he can get us the template and see if we can just get it so that people can fill in the
Yeah.
information. Maybe a couple days. So December 6th is the next week.
Yeah.
So hopefully, maybe, I mean,
Or actually, you'll have it way before.
Maybe he's watching this meeting and knows what
Maybe.
you're asking for.
You'll have it way before the select.
we'll have that.
Harry's an
Yeah,
optimist.
It's obviously gonna
Only
be,
occasionally.
because we have to present to the planning board, so we'll definitely have it before that, so. And obviously, the following week is Board of Selectmen, so I'm
Right.
sure that by that time, we should have a copy for everybody. So I will touch base with him tomorrow, and we will definitely figure out, I mean, I think probably by the end of the week, I'm hoping, so. And, I'll work on putting that together, so. Okay. And once I get the template, I'll send, to Christina, I'll send to Pete, so you could just enter in the information and, for your presentations, and then just send, I guess, the decks back to me and
Yeah.
everything
sure,
to one thing, one time.
thank you.
Okay.
Do you have the old one from last year if you wanted
That's
to
what I'm looking
reference?
for. I know I found it in my email before.
Does Tina have it, the old one?
I don't have it.
Could she have the old one so she has
Mhm.
some idea?
Yeah, I can send that to her, that's
Thank you.
simple enough, I have it right
Could
here.
you send it to me too?
I thought
so I
Andrew
can
did
see
the
it,
deck the
so I
last
get an
time,
idea?
I
though.
think he did.
So the template might not even be the same,
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure Andrew did the
I think he did.
PowerPoint.
Not having that, do we need to kind of start fresh, or can we just edit that deck? I mean, Andrew owns it, but,
Well, that's the thing. I
Well,
mean,
I
I
think-
have the slide presentation, but I don't have access
okay,
to get into it.
Yeah.
So,
But
Yeah.
at least it's
Yeah,
something
but
to
if
draw
Jay, if
upon.
Something
Jay
to
has a
draw on.
template for this,
yeah,
Right.
that's
then
easy.
we're just transposing, I mean, the first, 4 or 5 slides, that's,
I mean, it's
other
not
than
gonna be-
dates and,
yeah.
timeframes, I think that's gonna be essentially the same. So,
So,
yeah, don't make us more work than we need.
No, I'm not gonna, I'm trying to make it easier.
all right. So is everybody good with that, I guess? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, so we'll work on that. I have public input. We had public input, but we have another public input if there's any members of the public who wish to input. I'm not seeing anybody, so I guess I'll close.
So I
Unless
tried-
Dr. Jetty has another public input.
I tried to answer the question about what other is, and I've gone to the rubric.
Okay.
And so the question was really unsafe conditions, and they had 250 points in that. And then at some point, they subdivided. I still can't sort out how other got created, so I can't answer
What
the
the
question.
other
I
is.
apologize. But what we submitted was for 250 points, 5 times 50, I'm guessing, but I don't know how they divided that. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm trying.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. And hearing none of others, I guess, so I'll close public input. Any other business this evening? Anybody have anything? Okay. Very good. So, we're gonna do this presentation to the planning board on December 6th. It's good, and that's gonna be the public hearing for the capital improvement as well. So it's gonna be sort of combined. So December 6th, that's a Tuesday, and that's gonna, the meeting's at, 7 for the planning board, just so everybody knows.
Oh, 7?
7 o'clock.
Here.
And here in Town Hall, correct, yeah, in this room. And then December 12th will be the Board of Selectmen, so we'll be at that meeting.
What time do you guys start?
6:30.
6:30.
So 7 on the 6th and 6:30 on the 12th.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, because
All right. Hearing,
I was super early tonight.
I came
Because
yesterday.
I don't know how to read apparently.
we'll work on that. So if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you on December 6th. Have a good night.